Okay, excellent. So my name's Nicole Blue. I'm the Assistant Director of the Transportation and Supply Chain Institute. I'd also like to introduce Jenny Johnson Weeks and Lynn Ramsey. Jenny graduated with Cohort 4 and is the president and owner of the Intermodal Support Services, Inc. She's also the board chair of our alumni committee. And Lynn is a pilot at NetJets and recently joined TSCI as our new alumni ambassador.
Nice. Jenny, what can you share just a little bit about what your services are, please?
Sure. We are an inspection company. So our primary line of business is inspecting containers and chassis when they're empty to make sure that they are cargo worthy and DOT compliant. So we are doing that throughout the United States, primarily for the class ones. We also do it for the large IEPs like DCLI. And then we're also incorporated in Mexico under the support. And right now we're working with CPKC, but we are about to get certified in Mexico literally within the next few weeks with what would be the equivalent of the United States FMCSA certification, which is the annual inspection. In Mexico, it's monitored by a group called the SCT. So we will be reaching out to other providers. We're already talking with other railroads down there, but also we'll be reaching out to some trucking companies in Mexico. So we see that as a real opportunity for growth. We also provide just ancillary services, administrative, auditing. We work with some consultants as they have needs.
Nice, thank you.
Welcome.
So for the agenda today, I'd just like to run through a few announcements and updates, and then we'll introduce our guest speaker. After the presentation, we'll have a Q&A followed by some brief introductions and our open discussion. So we do have a few Cohort 20 graduates on this call. Cohort 20 graduated this past June. Our alumni community now consists of 322 alumni. Cohort 23 begins this fall, and we'll have that cohort dinner on October 10th. There's still time to RSVP if anyone would like to attend, and I'll be emailing this presentation to everyone after the event today. Another announcement is TSCI is going to have a booth at the IANA conference in Long Beach in September. So if anyone is attending that, please stop by and hang out with our program manager, Jerry Seha. Our board currently consists of 47 executives across transportation, supply chain, and logistics. 13 alumni currently serve on the board of directors. 3 of our 6 new board members this year all came from Cohort 15. Abigail Anderson, Jack Mahoney, and Brian Meets. And 2 of our alumni recently joined the faculty, Yannick Landry and Jared Stuttle. Here's our current board roster. And also some resources on where our alumni can find us. TSCI is now 100% online. We have Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and on our link tree, we have direct access links to every part of our website. We post all of our events, blogs, and webinars to our news and events page. And for anyone who is not currently receiving the monthly e-newsletter, you can send some updated contact information to myself or Lynn, and also check your spam settings. Does anyone have any questions or comments so far? All right, without further ado, I'd like to welcome our guest speaker, Ed Mykyten. He graduated with Cohort 9 and is the current Vice President, Head of Enterprise Business Development at Uber Freight. Welcome, Ed. Thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you. It's good to be amongst fellow graduates and the faculty, and it's been a minute. And Jack and I have been talking a little bit earlier this year, trying to find the time and a way to get involved again. So it's again good to be here. I've got the October meeting on my calendar, and I'm hopeful both my fellow cohort 9 and new head of intermodal here at Uber Freight, DeAndre, Larry, and I can both join for that. So when Nicole reached out, she asked, I can't remember what the original subject matter was, but I told her I didn't have anything to share as it relates to that, but I would be willing to talk just a little bit about what we're doing in the AV and EV spaces here at Uber Freight. So I'm not an expert actually in either of those, but I'll do my darndest, and happy to, if you have a question that I can't answer, I'll be happy to go back and get it. So is everybody seeing my screen okay?
Yes.
And does it fit to the screen? Oh, I think I can make the menu up here go. We're a team shop, so I'm still a little bit of a novice at Zoom, but I thought it'd be, I don't want this to be a commercial, but I thought I'd share just a little bit about who we are, because we still do get that question in the marketplace. Today, Uber Freight is a subsidiary of the ride-sharing giant Uber, and the conglomeration of both the legacy digital freight brokerage Uber Freight and their 2021 acquisition of Transplace. I came via the Transplace acquisition. I'll have been here 6 years in early Q4. When I participated in Cohort 9, it was at a previous employer. Most of you know who that in fact was, but just real quickly, when you look at Uber Freight, we do a number of things. We're about a $7 billion company. I just mentioned the digital brokerage, which was formed in 2016. We've merged that capability with the legacy Transplace capacity offerings, which were a managed brokerage, the largest non-asset-based intermodal franchise, the largest transportation management technology offering in North America, and it's a sub of that. We also sell that as a SaaS. We do a whole bunch of other things as well in the marketplace. We do some 300 procurement events on behalf of our technology relationships. We also are the procurement arm for people like Unilever, Coca-Cola, and Procter & Gamble. Even though we don't have a tech relationship with them, we just handle their procurement activity for them. Large consulting organization, 1,000 employees in Mexico. We're an active transportation management provider in Europe as well. We're a small NVOCC. So there's a pretty wide spectrum of capability that's resident within the Uber Freight organization. And I'm sure I've missed some of them, but it's weird that it won't. I'm going to keep it not in presentation mode. We'll just work off it this way, if that's okay. So again, I apologize for the delay. As it relates, the primary reason Uber bought Transplace was for our transportation management capability. We're the largest manager of transportation in North America. We're currently flowing about $17 billion in freight through our proprietary technology. It's a single instance, multi-tenant platform. There's over 8,000 customers who are utilizing it, and Uber Freight has a wonderful app that we're able to provide facility ratings through now that enhanced our capability there. And we've got about 1.7 million drivers on the Uber Freight app, if you will. So again, by a pretty significant margin, we're the largest digital fleet provider. Okay, so let's get in and why you asked me to visit. We're very excited about what's going on in the autonomous vehicle space. Today, we have two primary partners, Aurora and Volvo. We've got a great relationship with both of those folks, and we're working with them on multiple technology products. So if you kind of look at our journey, we've got 10 customers we're doing business with on an autonomous basis. over the next 2 to 3 years, we believe we'll be able to remove the safety drivers from those trucks, which will also allow us to open up additional freight lanes all across the South. If you were to look at like Texas West specifically, those states are the most that are the most interested in the overall capability, if you will. Between the latter half of this, over the course of the latter half of this decade, we think many fleets will have an increasing number of driverless capability that they utilize within their respective networks. And we envision in the 2030s, AV trucks may become the preferred mode of trucking for certain freight use cases. When you look at the benefits, you know, there's a lot of them. We think, and data so far shows that autonomous vehicles will be safer, and you can see my notes down at the bottom. There will be less hard braking that occurs if in fact, as opposed to when you have human intervention. From a sustainability perspective, we think there will be less hard acceleration, which will reduce overall emissions. Faster delivery because of less hours of service concerns. And ultimately, as everyone knows, there's a significant driver shortage. It's been with us for many, many years, and the average age of the over-the-road commercial driver these days, I think, is now in the latter 50s. So we believe it'll be an absolute source of capacity in the marketplace. When you look at how we're thinking about it specifically, you know, the AT deployment strategy, you know, given our vast network and technical capabilities, we think will be an absolute benefit to the shipper community in terms of planning from the perspective of what lanes they want to deploy autonomous vehicles on. I mentioned earlier, we've got 1.7 million drivers on the app. We'll think will be a significant source of capacity in the first and last mile spaces, if you will. And then from a planning perspective, given our both our transportation management technology and the $7 billion in freight that we're doing as a carrier, we think will be an excellent planning tool for customers as they work to figure out where they want to put their terminals and things of that nature. Any questions thus far? Okay, good. Here's where we're active today. 9 out of the 10 customers we're doing business with are consumer products companies, but we today are doing we're doing business in Texas and looking to expand westward to Phoenix by next summer, if you will. And today there's freight that's picked up by a driver at customer facilities, brought to a staging station just outside of interstates between Dallas and Houston. At that point, there was an emergency driver in the truck, but at that point, the autonomous vehicle gets on I-35 or I-45 and takes the freight up to a holding pen at the other end where it exits the interstate, if you will, goes to another holding station, and then is delivered by an actual road driver. So on a monthly basis, we're doing, I want to say, almost 400 loads on an autonomous basis today. We've got a long list of customers who are wanting to explore the capability with us. And we again see it as a significant upgrade over the next decade or so in terms of what the marketplace is going to have available from a capacity perspective. I'm going to flip over to the EV side, if you will. That business for us is a little more, and it's an absolute work in progress. You'll hear the term TCO in the next slide, but there's all kinds of government issues, there's charging issues, there's weight issues. So there's a lot going on in that space. There's states like California, which are absolutely committed, if you're in the intermodal space, to being carbon free by, I think, 2035, if you will. But again, our very first EV load was an intra-California load. It was interesting. We got to the Consignee, and the EV trucks are a little bit longer, if you will, so they couldn't unload the truck. When we disconnected the truck from the trailer, we asked if we could go to a nearby charging station so we could charge the battery up, and unfortunately the shipper said, I'm sorry, CHEP said no, we couldn't, because they didn't have any way to check us out and then check us back in on a load that was actually supposed to be a driver stay with, if you will. But the economics of EV are heavily use case dependent. They really are. There's infrastructure issues, there's policy and incentive issues, there's weight issues. Everybody seems to want them, if you will, but there's no real mechanism to monetize for utilizing them, if you will. So, Johnny, I guess I'll ask you guys, because you're a massive organization and you're playing in that space as well. Are you guys seeing similar hurdles?
Yeah, definitely seeing similar hurdles. You know, what you all are doing sounds very similar to us. And really the majority of the electric trucks that we have in our fleet are in the California area. But like you said, I think charging infrastructure is the largest impact that we see today.
Yeah, who owns it? Where is it? Who pays for it?
Yep.
You know, all of those type things. Different trucks have different batteries, you know, and it's not a, you know, like a uniform USB type charge, if you will. So there's a lot of issues, and we think it's going to take a lot longer to play out, if you will. But it's the right thing to do in large shippers like, frankly, the beverage guys, specifically Pepsi, is deeply committed to doing this. But I was talking to their sustainability lead last week, and they're a Tesla shop, and it's going well for them. But if you were to try and introduce a different truck type, they wouldn't be able to do it today. So just as info. You know,
And I had one question too, if you don't mind.
Sure. Nope.
Well, I know from my experience in Denver, I've been around here in transportation logistics for a long time. I've worked with a number of companies. One of the companies I'd worked with was trying to get into the natural gas sector a long time ago, before a lot of other companies.
Mm-hmm.
One of the big problems that they faced was the performance aspects of working with, especially trucking with grades around the I-70, I-80 corridor. The performance was horrible, as far as we were actually on the average to move a load of freight from Denver to Salt Lake, as compared to the natural gas units versus a regular diesel motor. We were looking on the average of at least an hour and a half extra time just to cross the grades, because of the performance of the natural gas engines on the grades themselves. I'm not sure how the EVs. I was just curious what kind of research you guys have got with the cold weather and the mountain grades on that aspect.
You know, that's a good question. The bulk of the testing we've done have been in the South. There's a lot of there's quite a few articles out there in terms of how batteries may be impacted in, you know, heavy winter states, more specifically the Northeast, but certainly Colorado would apply as well. So I don't think there's enough data to indicate one way or another whether that's going to be a challenge. I will submit, from a power perspective, you know, a sheer horsepower perspective, we've not had any issues with electric batteries. They can pull this, well, I'm sorry, because the trucks are heavier, and even though we've got the 2,000 pound gift, if you will, in some states, we can only haul about 42,000 pounds. So if you were to look at a normal conventional piece of equipment with a 53-foot trailer, swing door trailer, you know, we typically can haul 44.5, in some instances 45,000 pounds, depending on the size fuel tank you have. So power's not been an issue. How the batteries hold up in inclement weather, I think, is a chapter that hasn't been fully researched or written yet.
Interesting. I was curious. Thanks for that update. I was just curious. It's very interesting. I know that is the future. That's how it's going to be. A lot of people, the old timers, aren't looking forward to it, but it's definitely a matter of time. That's all it is.
It is. it's just how long is that matter of time? So yeah, in EVs, oh, by the way, are expensive. So, you know, there's all of those things that need to be considered. And again, until there's some sort of, from my personal opinion, some sort of government mandate that allows us to put a dollar and cent sign in terms of what actually the value from a, you know, from a cost to serve, cost per load basis. I think it's going to be a slow climb, if you will.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, very last slide here. You know, we're not going to be a provider in this space. We're going to be a facilitator, or at least that's what we hope to be. So some of the people we're partnering with, all you can see on the right-hand side, are, you know, equipment manufacturers, battery manufacturers, the people who lease and finance the equipment, if you will, infrastructure providers. You know, we're staying in very close contact with all of them to try and understand what the next steps are, if you will, and we'll be a willing partner with that. So what we are going to bring to the table is our technology. We've got you know, Uber, our parent company, is a $80 billion company, and we have, I don't want to say unlimited access to technology capability, but that's where we see ourselves as adding value, if you will. But again, I'm better with AV than EV, but you know, what we see in the EV space is that there's much yet to be considered, and there are a tremendous amount of moving parts, and a lot of people are interested in it, but I would submit that they're moving very cautiously. So if anybody has any questions, or if there's any info that I can provide as it relates to our capabilities in these spaces, I'd be happy to go get it for you. Again, I'm not an AV nor an EV expert, but this is kind of the topic that Nicole and I settled on. And Nicole, I'm okay with you sharing this with this group. So I don't know if you had planned to send this out or not, but I'm okay with it if in fact you'd like to.
Oh, that'd be great. Thank you, Ed.
Got it. And that's, folks, all I had. And I'm going to stop sharing and be back on regular screen.
Right. And does anyone have any questions?
Ed, Jonathan Smith here. One of your early slides, you talked about being #1 in efficiency. And I'm just wondering what measures you use to come to that. You know, what's the key things you're tracking for efficiency?
I'm trying to remember the slide. Do you remember the context with which I shared it within, by chance? And Jonathan, who are you with?
I'm with UPS.
Hey, are you here locally in Atlanta?
No, I'm actually out on our west zone. And I think it was one of your first slides about Uber Freight. And well, I'm, you know, don't have to tell anybody about the UPS brand, but we love efficiency. So I'm always excited to hear how other people are thinking of it.
Well, you know, so I mentioned maybe it was in the context of our app. So we have an app that there's almost 1.7 million drivers subscribed to. The vast majority of them come from small fleets and or our owner operator capability, if you will. We saw that as a somewhat of a neglected space. If you look at Johnny's company or my alma mater, all those folks have tremendous capabilities, if you will. But we saw our app as an equalizer, and it allowed them. You know, we can do. Maybe it was in the context of the facility ratings that I mentioned earlier. So we can measure. You know, we have an app that drivers can go on the app and provide a facility rating, if you will, and we then share that those facility ratings across a myriad of topics with the actual BCO, if you will, and then we work jointly together to see what type of efficiency we can drive from it. Again, I'm trying to remember the specific statement I made, so I apologize, but I can't.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that, though.
Sure. Anybody else have a question or thought?
Hey, Ed, Abby Anderson from CMA. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Um, I was recently having a conversation with a colleague of mine because we're in the process of planning a sustainability panel for the VMAs coming up.
Mhm.
And we got into this really in-depth kind of talk, basically touching on what you said about how when there's no government oversight, all of this sustainability stuff is nice to have, but until it's regulated, it's hard for companies they'll put plans together and so forth. But as transportation providers, it's hard for us to know what our customers are looking for until they put their plans together. And that includes the dollars. But we really were talking about Europe and how far ahead they are because they do have a regulatory agency that is holding people accountable or companies accountable. So the question is, I mean, you guys are obviously global. So is there lessons learned from what's happening in Europe? Will we follow what's going on in Europe in this space? Or is it so different here that it will be a different type of solution?
In Europe, we're only active. Uber Freight is a transportation management technology provider. We're not a carrier over there, and I can go back, Abby, and see what our folks and our parent company are seeing, and if there's anything they may want to share and reconnect with you after. But I think your thought process is correct, and I do agree that they're ahead of us. But I don't know that we've taken any of the learnings that they're experiencing on their side and trying to apply them to our domestic freight franchise, if you will.
Makes sense. Thank you, Ed.
Sure. Okay, Nicole, if there are no other questions, thank you for having me. Again, it's good to be with the group. Is it okay if I hang out for the remainder of the session? Or
Ed, thank you so much for your presentation and thanks
you're
for your
welcome.
time today.
Sure.
Yeah, good to see you again. You're looking well.
Thank you very much. Lot going on here for sure. So.
All right, so I think we're gonna go into open discussion. And so what we would all love to hear from our alumni is what you'd like to see in future alumni events. I know David, Lynn, myself, and Jenny, we've all kind of talked about having an annual catered alumni event on campus every year, and also having some localized alumni gatherings in your areas. Any thoughts on that?
Is kind of the person who's not been around in a while. I mean, have we mapped where the alumni are? I mean, do we know, what type density if we were to do something outside of Colorado? I don't know how many there are here in Atlanta or Chicago or Dallas, or do we know where the people are?
Yeah, so Lynn and I have been working on updating our alumni contact sheet and also collecting interests of our alumni and organizing interest groups. We did host a recent alumni event for the last IANA business meeting in Atlanta, and we had several alumni show up for that. But what we found was we were competing with the IANA event. And so, Jenny and I thought maybe it wasn't beneficial to have alumni events at regional events, just for the busy schedules and people already kind of having plans for those events. And so we're looking at different opportunities.
Got it.
Right. And just to piggyback on that, Ed, it was in Chicago. So
I remember that. I wanted to go. I can't remember where. Oh, I was on my vacation over in Europe. So
yeah, and quite a few people had RSVP'd for that and then did not show up. So that was Nicole and my thought, to have this roundtable and to get some more people on it and to get some suggestions from folks to say what would work better for you, because I don't think that is the best idea, because we were hoping we were at a time where we could get some folks to pop in before they had a client dinner or something like that, but it didn't seem to really work out for people's schedules. So that's why we were hoping this would be more of an open forum. And we do have concentrations of people, and there are quite a few alumni in Atlanta. There's quite a few here in Jacksonville where I am, quite a few in Chicago, There's getting to be quite a large number in the Denver area now too. So we do have these nice pockets. And that might be the better approach because one thing we've heard is for people to get authorization to travel might not be as easy. So
Yeah. You know, I like here in Atlanta, I put Shara through the program before I went through it, and we kept threatening to get together, but it's been about 3 years, even though we're only about 30 miles apart. So that might give us a reason to have to meet in the middle somewhere.
Yeah, and you know, virtual events are great too. I think it's more accessible and easier for people to join in amidst their busy schedules. And so we were talking about maybe organizing some future virtual gatherings or more virtual speaker engagements, but ultimately having one fully catered in-person event on campus each year to re-engage with everyone.
And Nicole, I think, the hybrid approach is one of, I think, the great things the program has going forward. So one in-person event and then virtual things, that's the hallmark of the program to me and gives that lovely mix. So I would personally really love that. I will say, as others have, finding time to travel, authorization to travel can be complicated. Advance notice seems to help sometimes, but not always. And then, people who can't make the in-person would at least be able to connect to some degree, as many of us did before this call started over the virtual. There's always that opportunity to reconnect even with the virtual. So, not discounting that.
So I just a couple comments. We are formalizing the process of holding an alumni dinner the night before every board meeting that's on campus. So this year it'll be, on Monday, which also corresponds to the junior senior cohort mixer. So that gives everybody an opportunity to, interact with the alums, the cohorts to interact with the alums as well. And currently we have a nasty habit, as I've been reminded by Janet, of scheduling our alumni dinners for Canadian Thanksgiving, and we'll figure that out. Maybe next year we'll put the board meeting at the back end of the week instead of the front end of the week. It just happens to coincide. Canadian Thanksgiving happens to coincide often with the fall schedule, and since we moved the residencies to always being the 5th week, it just happens to land that way in the fall. But we'll try and do a better job with that. So Jonathan, your comment, I absolutely agree with. We should absolutely focus on, having a formal alumni event that's on campus every single fall, because it gives the alumni a chance to interact with the new students and the existing students as well. So there's that. And then Nicole and Jenny and Lynn and I have all talked about this idea of regional physical events and regional virtual events. The virtual events can be global, right? So we can have as many or as few of those as we want, but the Institute would be happy to contribute some money and some resources to regional events. And we have done to get back to your question, Ed, we have done a gravity map. And, there is a lot of alumni that are in the Southeast. There's a fair amount of alumni that are in the Northeast. There's a lot of alumni that are in the Chicagoland area. There's alumni in a pretty good number of Dallas-Fort Worth area folks, and a smattering of West Coast people as well. So we could theoretically think of regional events as being sort of 5 zones, if you will. Again, physical attendance might be a challenge for quite a few people, but if we schedule them far enough out in advance, we can make those meaningful events. And we're happy to send in, faculty to be guest speakers to that, or board members to be guest speakers at that as well. Craig Lynch is in his last teaching cycle, so he's going to be open for guest speaker engagements coming up pretty soon. So I think there's a lot of creative opportunities for us to explore.
Yeah, and you know, several of you indicated a preference toward having an educational component, such as a keynote speaker. And some of you also indicated that you would be interested in hosting a site tour at your companies, which I thought that was really intriguing and could be, you know, a great off-site alumni opportunity. And so if anyone wants to explore that further, yeah, let us know, because we would really love to plan something like that.
I think just from listening, I think that it would probably be behoove us to try to find out what type of event, as far as timeline, if we're looking at a regional event that would accommodate the schedules and the interest of everyone, the more feedback we could get on that, we could come up with a suitable plan and maybe give the local members of the regions an idea, you know, which model preference would they prefer, like toward the weekend or the first part of the week, that kind of thing, how long. If we could get more data, that would help us make a better give them a better idea what options we could do for a regional on-site event.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Would it make sense to, you know, send a poll on seasons that work best for certain companies?
I think that does make sense because, you know, for example, in the intermodal space, you know, we're going into a peak season, right? And then, you know, of course, the IANA meeting is coming up here in September in California. It just gets really busy and jammed up this time of year, it seems. So, you know, I'm sure others have times of year that they also experience that type of thing. But yeah, I think it would be good to kind of get a feel for that from folks.
Hi, Nicole. First of all, you know, really well done doing this first virtual roundtable. So I think this is a good step in the right direction. Any kind of pre-planning in advance is good for everybody. Polling by region, so maybe an East-West Coast thing with some dates in advance. We do travel a lot. I travel all the time. I will go wherever the event is. But as long as I have advance notice, I can plan it into a schedule. And then any opportunities, you know, where, again, through a polling or a survey, asking people availability and how they can participate or give back to the school in any way, I think that would be good. And you'll find people who do want to participate. It's just a matter of reaching out on a continuous basis, because we all receive about 5 million emails a day, and this just becomes one more to add to my list. But the more you get in touch with us, I'm sure you'll get some response.
That's excellent. Thank you for that feedback, Janet. And that's something that our team has been discussing too, is, you know, is our communications adequate? Is it too much? Is it not enough? We send out the e-newsletter once a month, and I know less than half of our alumni community receive it. And I think a lot of that has to do with changes in emails, spam filters within companies. And so we're proactively working on more direct communication and getting everything updated, ensuring that our alumni are being well informed and also in advance of events. So I appreciate that feedback, and also sending out more surveys, I think, would absolutely be beneficial, and you know, just getting to know everyone's schedules better.
And perhaps I saw something recently, a LinkedIn page for alumni. I mean, from my cohort, that's how we kind of all find each other as we move around in life. So that's a really good step also. It's kind of becomes our virtual Rolodex.
Oh, your cohort has a LinkedIn page.
No, we don't have a LinkedIn page, but doesn't the university have an alumni page?
Right now, we only have one page. We had several accounts in the past, and it got a little confusing, and it wasn't set up as a company page. And so our team, we basically restarted LinkedIn and regrew our following. But I think an alumni page would be beneficial if everyone feels that that's not too confusing. But I think it would be beneficial to have all of our alumni engagement and events in a separate location so that everyone can communicate on those.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I think the social component is definitely important, but also more direct communication. I know I was in Janet's cohort and we use WhatsApp, or we communicate more on that platform than we do via other media. So it might be helpful to find groups either by cohort or by some other kind of grouping, and get folks together on some other kind of a chat platform that they can share news and invite others. I know I was having a hard time getting on the call today. I rearranged a few things, and Janet sent out a blast on the WhatsApp, said, "Hey everyone, get on the call because it started." I also wanted to mention the two things that you mentioned earlier, facility visits, right? So we had UPS and Home Depot visits earlier this year, which were great events that I was able to attend here in Atlanta. But I think having a component like that is a big draw that makes it worth people's time to come out and make those travel arrangements. And the other piece was the education piece. I think having an educational component to some of these events is definitely in the right direction, and even giving alumni the ability to invite non-alumni to that event to get more exposure to the program and get
that idea.
Other folks within our organizations and the people that we know in the industry to come to those events and see what this program's all about.
Excellent.
Very good.
Thank you, Justin. Yeah, that's great feedback. And yeah, you're absolutely right. Not everyone's on LinkedIn. And so if we're going to create multiple lines of communication, it will be important for us to see how many of our alumni are on what platforms and how they prefer setting up chats among the alumni. Another topic I wanted to mention is how many of you regularly meet up with your cohorts? Maybe just a show of hands. I know there's a little hand raising tool.
Well, we don't have too much, but we're actually having a 10-year reunion in September, where like all but maybe 3 of us are attending. So looking forward to that.
And Johnny, remind me what cohort you're in?
I was in 11.
How would it make sense for TSCI to host anniversary events for our cohorts? Or do you think there would be, a large turnout? Do you think we can get a full cohort together if TSCI was hosting 10-year and 20-year anniversaries?
I think so. I mean, we knew we wanted to get together. We kind of struggled around where we were going to do it. Denver was kind of one of the top contenders, but we decided to go up to Portland, Maine. One of our guys lives up there. But I think had it been more of like a formalized thing through the university, and maybe there was some like university activities with it. Yeah, I mean, I think we probably would have elected to go that route. I mean, it certainly would have been a little bit, I think maybe easier to coordinate.
Great. And would it be too much trouble for you to send me some information and images of your gathering?
Yeah, for sure. I can send some info around like dates and stuff like that. We'll make sure to take some pictures and we'll share those with you all to do whatever you want to do with them, whether that's just kind of put in a newsletter or whatever.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We appreciate that.
Yeah, Nicole, my cohort 15, we were regularly getting together in Chicago once a year in the summertime. We got together last year. We did not manage to meet up this past summer, but we typically get at least 9 to 10 of the 19 of us together. And one of our cohorts actually host us at his house for, like a backyard barbecue type of event. And we've done, brunch in the city together the morning before the event. So, and to Justin's point, we have a WhatsApp group as well, and that's typically how we all stay connected and have quite the dialogue. Usually it's very entertaining. So just keeping in touch with each other.
That's awesome. And good to hear that our cohorts are staying in touch and having regular meetings. That's always great to hear. I think moving forward, our goal would be to be involved in those and maybe establish one person in the cohort who would be planning an event like that to get TSCI involved and have us help you host something like that. And I think follow-up would be, in a survey to our alumni, maybe a survey for individual cohorts. We only have 23 cohorts so far, so that shouldn't be too difficult for us to organize. And either we can do cohort-specific events in addition to our annual events and facility visits, or we can do anniversaries or all of the above. As much engagement as we can get. I think that would be the end goal here. Any other thoughts?
Me again. I just wanted to say I appreciated the idea of the small micro-learning sessions that you had this summer and offering the alumni to take the courses. Of course, it was over summer, so I had to decide between vacation or attending the training, so I took vacation. But if you are doing more of those, and I hope you do plan to do more of those going forward, sending notices out to the alumni to participate is a good thing, as well as it's an opportunity for us to look within our organization to figure out who we kind of want to test the waters with. So I do hope that you plan to do more of those going forward.
Thanks for that comment, Janet. We've been pleased about the launch of the short courses as well. And I want to make sure that everybody on this call receives the invitation to submit ideas for other short courses. So one of our faculty, Ioana Mazer, is intending on standing up a short course in data and AI ethics in the spring. But if you have a particular idea around a short course that you think we should be offering, and if you would like to teach one, we are interested in both of those things. So consider that an open invitation to contribute to the Institute by helping us stand up short courses. And thanks for those comments.
Yes, and several of you also indicated on your RSVP to this event that you would potentially be interested in future faculty openings and being more involved either as guest speakers. And we currently do not have openings for this fall, but we will have openings for the spring. And so I will be communicating with everyone and ensuring that you receive information on that as we receive them. Any other questions about TSCI or planning future alumni events? Is anyone interested in putting together, a team that could help put something on the calendar for this year? I think
I think for sure, hopefully going forward, we're gonna hopefully have some ideas coming up that we can bounce off of the group and see how the reaction would be to try to get some events set up. And I'm confident, I think that there's enough interest out there. If we could just get everybody's inputs and time, that we could make something that would be beneficial to get people to come and want to engage more. I think it's just a matter of trying to get the right formula for everybody to make it work.
absolutely. Well, I think, go ahead, Janet.
Considering we're 15 people and I have Quincy and Justin and myself from my cohort, and they all responded to my WhatsApp, I think I'll take it away that I'll get my cohort together. We'll do something virtual just to kind of check in with everybody. We can do that, but maybe an idea is for you to find somebody within each of the cohorts to lead some kind of virtual activity like that between now and Canadian Thanksgiving. I don't know, gotta start small.
Yeah,
Correct,
very
yeah.
good.
So I'll take that away with Justin and Quincy, and we'll figure something out.
Thank you, Janet. And yeah, I think it's just a matter of follow-up. So Lynn, you and I, Jenny, David will work out a follow-up survey or a series of surveys. I'll send everyone our presentation from today as well as Ed's presentation and the notes from today, if that's helpful. And we'll go from there and we'll just start collecting our alumni feedback and hopefully at least get a good idea of, you know, when a good time is for us to plan the next in-person alumni event. Well, thanks so much for the amazing turnout. It's great to see so many alumni on the call for our first virtual event. And again, big thanks to Ed for your presentation. We really appreciate that and glad you were able to join today.
Thank you. Have a good week, everybody.
Thank you, Ed.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good one.
Bye,
Thanks,
everyone.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.